When we reach 60 years old, everything changes in a very subtle, almost invisible way. Sometimes you notice a lack of energy, or that vigor that once seemed so natural gradually dissipates. But what many men don't know is that changes often begin in their intimate lives. And the worst thing is that they don't always know what's going on. As an elderly woman with many years of experience observing these transformations, I can assure you this is a silent process, but full of profound impacts. The point is that they often prefer to ignore the signs, fearing to appear weak or vulnerable. It is not something that is talked about openly, much less sought for help, for fear of judgment or shame. These changes begin gradually, and the first sign usually appears in decreased sexual disposition and desire. Over time, a man's body loses the ability to react in the same way, which can generate frustration, shame, and a great shock in self-esteem. This goes beyond the simple physical issue. It also affects trust, emotions, and even relationships with partners. But what many do not know is that these transformations can be mitigated and even reversed when treated with attention and care. The secret is to recognize the signs at the right time, and that's the hardest part. Most men think that the symptoms are part of the natural process of aging, and get used to the idea that over time everything will get worse. But it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be an immutable destiny. It is important to understand that when we talk about male sexual health, we are not just talking about erection. These are other aspects that are changing, such as blood circulation, hormone production, and pelvic floor health factors that are often neglected. The lack of knowledge about how to deal with these issues can have serious consequences, both physical and emotional. By noticing the first changes and acting immediately, it is possible to restore health and preserve vitality. Therefore, I will accompany you on this learning journey, so that you have the necessary information to prevent problems before they become major obstacles. The secret is in prevention, and now is the time to understand this. I need to tell you a truth that almost no one talks about men's lives. Many men ignore the signs that their intimate health is changing. And do you know why? Out of fear of facing what seems inevitable, fear of judgment, fear of admitting that something is different. But the truth is that the body gives clear signals as if it were an alarm ringing softly in the background. You may not realize it at first, but these alerts are there, waiting for attention. There's more. Decreased sexual desire is another symptom that many prefer to ignore, not because they don't realize it, but because it's easier to blame stress or routine. The reality is that hormonal imbalance, especially the drop in testosterone, is directly linked to these changes. Another sign that few recognize is frequent irritability, or even episodes of sadness for no apparent reason. This is because hormones play a fundamental role in emotional balance. When something changes, the impact goes far beyond the physical. It affects the mind, emotions, and even relationships. And if that weren't enough, many men begin to notice changes in the quality of sleep, further aggravating fatigue and indisposition. But calm down, all this has a solution. The first step is to recognize these signs as a cry for help from the body itself. Ignoring or postponing seeking help only increases the risks of bigger problems in the future. That's exactly why talking about it is so important. Now let's talk about something that impacts not only the body but also the mind and self-esteem. The loss of physical and muscular strength. And look, this is more common than you might think. Many men begin to notice, almost without realizing it, that their strength from before seems to have faded. Simple activities, such as carrying a heavy object or even opening a tighter jar, can start to feel like challenges. It is something subtle at first, but if left untreated, it can become a physical and emotional barrier in everyday life. What few people know is that the loss of muscle mass is not just a matter of aging. It is directly linked to the drop in the production of testosterone. a fundamental hormone for male health. When the levels of this hormone decrease, the body begins to save resources, and the muscles, which are true energy consumers, end up being affected. The result is less strength, less endurance, and a growing sense of tiredness. This goes beyond the physical. The loss of strength directly impacts confidence. That man who once felt capable of performing tasks with ease begins to question himself. Am I getting weak? Am I losing my vitality? These questions can turn into a cycle of demotivation, where men move away from activities that were previously part of their routine, such as physical exercise, manual work, or even hobbies that require effort. But there is a detail that cannot be ignored: muscle loss is reversible. Yes, it is possible to regain strength and vitality, but it is necessary to act. One of the first steps is to adopt an exercise routine focused on endurance and strength. This can include weight training, functional training, or even activities such as swimming or cycling. In addition, a balanced diet rich in protein and nutrients is also essential to give the body the necessary support.